Are you one of the many busy professionals working in offices day in and day out? Do you wonder how some people grow their wealth fast, retire early, and play on workdays? Well, you're in luck, because Ginny Bowling hosts this show, Pivot to Prosperity, where she interviews people that can do just that, play on workdays. Many guests have become financially free. She also interviews people that are on their journey and people that are in support roles, like attorneys, contractors, brokers, and others. Commercial real estate is the common element. She is on a mission to be sure busy professionals know they can own substantial commercial properties too, like apartments, self-storage facilities, and others, and not have to do the work managing them. Passive investing is the key. Syndications are the typical method. Tax write-offs are some of the biggest rewards. Ginny and partners find the deals, build a strong team and business plan, then offer the investment opportunities to passive investors. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 12, so watch for new releases. If you want to get involved, let us know. You need to get pre-qualified to hear about most.
Hello. Ginny Bowling here with Pivot to Prosperity, brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments, where we help investors build wealth and income through commercial real estate that improves communities. And today we have Don Spafford as our guest. And thank you for coming on, Don. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jenny. My pleasure to be here.
I have had the pleasure of talking a bit before we go live, and I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're going to hit right away on some topics, okay?
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, my name is Don Spafford. As you mentioned, I live in Southeast Idaho, very close to Yellowstone Park, which is, it's a great location. Part of what led to what we'll be talking about today, I think. My background, I went to school at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, essentially right next door to Warren Buffett, and I graduated with 4 majors: finance, banking, investment science, and portfolio management, and accounting. Planning to become a financial advisor, but unfortunately, I finished that degree around 2008. So there was all those jobs were apparently disappearing at that time, which was unfortunate. But I can't complain where I'm at today. But probably in a different place if that would have come to fruition. So, but I'm a partner on actually a few different teams or groups that do several like syndications or work with private lenders, private money. One is I work with Beyonder Holdings, which is RV resorts, campgrounds, marinas. Another one I do is Legacy Wealth, which is built to rent multifamily. I also work with a business acquisition fund, and I work with private lenders for new home construction as well. So I kind of keep myself busy with several different things and offering different opportunities for investors, because obviously, as we all know, not everybody fits into the same square, we'll say. So I try to have options for investors to find what best fits their needs. But yeah, so that's kind of just really roughly who I am and what I do.
We didn't talk about those 4 things. That's really cool. But we're going to end up probably talking about all 4. This might be a long interview, but anyway, I really appreciate what you're doing, and everybody can see your backdrop there, and that invest where you play really resonates. We were talking about that because I love pickleball and tennis and horseback riding, and so I've been trying to find those people that like to invest in commercial real estate so they can play more pickleball and tennis. right.
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of pickleball courts and horseback riding and maybe some tennis at our campgrounds. So definitely go to RV camping, and you can do those things and have fun outdoors.
Yeah, I'll have to check out your stuff there for sure. And we didn't actually talk about if you want to focus on that mainly, or of course the business acquisitions. I'll need to talk with you more about that another time, because we don't have time. That's so different.
No problem. Yep.
So big right now. I mean, and we are looking at buying some businesses right now, but the focus for today is going to stay real estate. But that's really cool that you do that. And then you said you're a private lender for new home construction.
So I'm a private lender, but I work with private lenders. So I'll take their money to build new homes and provide them a very strong return for their short-term loan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, and the Legacy Wealth build to rent.
Yep. Built to rent multifamily.
It's multifamily. Okay. You read my mind. Okay. So do you want to let's talk the campgrounds first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Tell us what exactly you're investing in for campgrounds.
Yeah, so we purchase so just to be some clarification here, I don't usually use the term like RV park. Like a lot of people say it's an RV park. Um, for me, that term, I guess, is more aligned with like a almost like a mobile home park in a sense, where people live there long term, year round. Very different than what we do with the RV resorts, RV campgrounds, and marinas. So we are very strong in the outdoor hospitality. So it's kind of much more geared towards what we call transient campers. People say you go out for a weekend or you know to take a vacation to go somewhere and have some fun, then you go back home. So you're not actually living there typically, at least not more than you might get some seasonal campers, right? People that like your snowbirds for winter and summer kind of stuff. But for the most part, the majority of our guests are very short term, like a week or less. So we cater to those types of weekend getaways and people looking just to have some fun outdoors, go and play. Like I said, the term investor of play. If we're not just going there to camping, but they're going there for say pickleball or riding jet skis or playing the aqua park or doing something outdoors and having fun, having a good time. And of course, while they're there, they'll not only spend the money to stay there, but they'll pay to say rent those equipment or play on the aqua park or rent a golf cart to drive around, buy some food, all these different things that will bring an additional income to the property. So that's kind of what we really focus on with that. And of course, with our investors, we are purchasing them like a syndication, like you would with any other syndication. If those are, hopefully everybody listening is familiar with what that means. But we do our value add very similar to like a value add multifamily, but we're not replacing carpets and appliances and painting. We typically, most of our value add comes from expansion. We'll do our general stuff, of course, general cleanup, improvements in the property, adding on some additional amenities, but the big value add comes from expanding. So we want to find a property that's already doing very well, has a strong strong occupancy, stronger numbers and demand, that we can say, okay, there's enough demand to justify adding on more sites or adding on a marina or something that can therefore bring a lot more revenue and increase the value of the property to give back great returns to our investors. So yeah, that's kind of what I do with that.
That's very cool. So have you personally had to get involved with adding on a marina, going all through the permitting?
So yeah, first of all, we have one that already had a marina. We expanded that marina even more. That's like in the Ozarks area of Missouri on that one. We've got another one of our properties where we are, I'd say in that we just purchased it, recently. So we're looking to not only expand the RV side, but also add on the marina. So we've already got, I think, the approval from the local council to do it. We're just finalizing everything else with it. So yeah, it's luckily in our cases, most times we haven't had to run too much issues. Some of these ones, like for example, the one like I said with the big marina in Missouri, it's actually on a land lease with the Army Corps of Engineers. So sometimes you have to go through a bit longer process to go through government stuff. Actually, the other one that I was talking about is too us with the Tennessee Valley Authority. So either way, the government agencies tend to make
I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah. But luckily, a lot of this was already on that one we bought. A lot of that was already done ahead of time from the previous owner that was already getting those approvals before we purchased it. So it made it a lot easier for us to just kind of step in and take over and make some changes. But yeah, so.
And it's interesting because after I asked you that, I was thinking, well, you're inland. You're not going to have all the messes we have here in the coastal stuff. But
yeah.
But lakes and all the rest of it, yeah, it can really still be complex. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, I would think that it can be an awful lot of fun at your places. Now, you have to drive in the RV, or do you have RVs there available to rent?
So we don't. Well, so no, we don't rent the RVs, but we do have some
Cabins.
What's the word? Well, yeah, we have cabins too. Obviously, well, yeah. For those that you don't have to have an RV to go there, you can stay at a cabin. You can rent, the cabin. We should do have some tent sites as well, so you could get a tent. I say we do have with like some other third-party companies that do rent RVs. You can kind of arrange it through us with them to get an RV to rent and have it there on site ready for you, if you want to do that and have the actual RV kind of stay. So there are lots of things you can do for sure. But yeah, we don't just cater to only RVers. Yeah, there's cabins. There's a couple of our properties have hotels on them as well. So there's multiple options to come and stay and play.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to get a list of your properties because it sounds like it could be really fun to go to do that.
Yeah.
And another big comparison is when you're doing multifamily, of course, most of your income is on the rent, and the other
Yep.
income is not nearly as big as yours probably is. You
Right.
probably, especially on the big parks, have quite quite the income on the other revenue source line, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, obviously each campground is different and unique in its own right, and different amenities, different things. But yeah, there's some of the ones like they have like a big lake or water park or something on it. You can do probably just as much, not more income from like say selling day passes to get access to do all that stuff than just the RV sites alone. So yeah, some of those can be very quite high revenue. Yep. And I know there's other none of ours like, but there are some that I know of that maybe like they have like a big restaurant on site as well. They do a lot of monies from the restaurant and things. So that's for us something new we're getting into. We've had some sites where we've basically rented out the building to a restaurant operator, not running it ourselves, but that is something we just launched in the last couple of months. One of our sites, we decided to open up our own restaurant on site. So we're kind of doing a slow launch. We did like first breakfast, then we added lunch, and so we're kind of slowly building up to make sure we get things handled properly and not just go all in and waste a bunch of time and money. But yeah, eventually that could be a great new revenue source as well. Doing full meals. We've always had, of course, had like snack stuff, like chicken strips or sandwiches and stuff, but not like a full-on restaurant, just because that was too much we didn't want to take on. But we're testing it out now in one of our locations, and if it all goes well and we get the kinks figured out, we'll eventually just add that on to a lot of our properties as well as like a branded restaurant versus something else outside. So anyway,
So
yeah.
now, are you the main one sourcing these deals and negotiating the deals and operating the deals, or are you working with others most of the time that are doing different?
Yeah. I've got a team. Luckily, yeah. There's no way I can handle all that myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got one basically our acquisitions team, we'll say. We got maybe one guy that's in charge of that really, to kind of source and find new deals. Of course, we do get stuff sent to us all the time as people hear us, know who we are. We get sent lots of different opportunities, but most of our properties that we purchase, we find ourselves off market doing our own cold calling, basically calling up campgrounds and talking to the owners and find the ones that want to discuss selling and kind of go from there. Then we've got my other partners, since you handle the day-to-day operations mostly, to kind of oversee the general managers, because each site, of course, has a general manager on site that's kind of running the day-to-days and overseeing the employees and people there. But then we have on our corporate side, right, we're kind of more oversight to kind of oversee the managers and the operations, somebody else to kind of oversee the I guess we'll say like the plans, the pay the bills and that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, we've got a full team to kind of handle all the different parts of it, and I'm mostly overseeing the communications, investor relations, and that side of things.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be fun. And what we can do is in the show notes, if you want, attach some links to show pictures of some. But so great. That's fun stuff. Again, like you say, invest where you play. So
Yeah.
the part we didn't talk about is your background as a Cub Scout, Boy Scout leader and all that. You went all the way
Yeah.
through, right? And then
Yeah.
you made
Yes.
your logo part of that. Talk on that a little bit, would you?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts myself. I was an Eagle Scout, and then later on I became a Scout Master. Eventually a Cub Master and Weebly's leader as well. So I've always kind of been involved in scouting in some way. My dad was as well, at an older age himself. But yeah, it wasn't, I guess, on purpose to say to incorporate like a campfire as part of the logo. But yeah, we want to make sure that a logo, of course, as everybody knows it, the logo says something, right? So it makes it easier to recognize that it's got something to do with outdoors or camping. And so we liked a very simple, easy logo that kind of portrays what we're doing, I guess, in a sense that has to do with camping. So
Now, do you invite scout troops, I guess, to your campgrounds and do it in any way cater to them?
yeah, well, definitely, they're all, scouts like any other group or people are all welcome at any of our campgrounds. Like I said, we typically do still keep some tent camping sites open for those that need or want to do tent camping, which usually you do with scouts. Even myself growing up as a kid, several of our campouts were at campgrounds, and even myself as a scoutmaster, oftentimes we would take boys camping at official campgrounds as well. So it just makes it easier having like some at least some amenities. We didn't quite go to like what we're doing these RV campgrounds with full on tons of activities because they'd probably been too distracted for everything. But at least some basic stuff. You got a bathroom and things to use. So it definitely can be a convenience for sure to have cater to groups like scouts and things where you're not out in the wilderness all alone. You've got some kind of sense of modernization there and safety. We'll say, especially these days, you kind of more safety is kind of more important than than some other stuff they were like 30, 40 years ago. But but yeah, they're scout groups, church groups, youth groups, all those things are all welcome and do use our properties for sure.
I bet. Yeah, you actually almost need to have an area that where all the fun stuff isn't so obvious, so they can learn what they need to about nature, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it does tend to be that the tent camping sites do tend to be on the further end away from us because people of course pay that premium to be close to those things anyway, and so the tent camps can take up those spaces, so you want to keep the tent camps a bit outside of everything else. Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, so talk to us about your build to rent stuff and where that is.
Yeah. So just to clarify, again, totally different, separate group than Beyonder.
Yes,
each of these
good.
things are
that's good.
Unique groups, unique partners. So we can all focus on different things, right? So, yep. But being, of course, what I do with the investor relations and the communications, overall, it doesn't really take a whole lot of time, like the day-to-day operations. I'm still, of course, busy literally every day talking to investors and different things, sending out newsletters. But it's not quite the same when you're some kind of problem comes up and your whole day gets spent on trying to fix a problem, right? So I'm not luckily involved with that stuff so much. So I have time then to be helping different groups do different things. For me, what kind of led to each of these though is I like, or essentially I'm drawn to things that are unique and exciting, maybe a bit different than what everybody else does. So when something that gets me excited comes up and I can get involved some way, I try to get involved and then of course share that with other investors that I know are just like me, looking for something different, unique, and maybe higher returns or something. So these build to rent projects actually came up before I got involved with Beyonder. It's who's my partner right now. I first met him early on when I was still buying fourplexes, and he actually contacted me and asked me to invest in the project he was doing here at the time, building some townhomes. And so when I later got involved with them back in like early 2021, they had like another project going on that was they came back and approached me again to invest in this project they were doing, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can help you guys and I can actually help bring more capital to your deals. And so that kind of led to a discussion. That's how I eventually got involved with them. And then I'm actually mentioned myself because before this, they'd always done like build to sell. They'd build these town communities and sell them all. And I was like, why don't we just hold these? Why keep selling everything? Let's build them and hold them to eventually build up more income, more wealth. So eventually you can even stop building, So that's kind of when they realized, yeah, they're actually right. We could switch this to build to rent model, pay a lot less taxes than they were paying for all these things they were selling, and build up a lot more wealth in the long run. So that's kind of how that kind of came up, and we're almost like immediately after we had that discussion, this opportunity came up to this large development where I'm at in Idaho, and we've got another large development in progress right now out of state as well. And so it's turning into be a very profitable opportunity for investors in that there's no cash flow up front right away, obviously, because you got to build it, but it's much more of a very large appreciation factor. You're going to build a lot of wealth long run, and the way we have these structured is that it takes up maybe a few years to build up a few hundred doors, and then we're going to get those leased out and rent them out for like a full year or so, and then get it refinanced. So at that point we'll refinance it, be able to provide back the investors all of their invested capital back to them, so they get all of their money back, but then still hold equity in that deal going forward, essentially forever is the goal. So you're not in and out in 5 years, have to find something else to do. You can actually set up a long-term income stream that, of course, will go up over time as cash flows go up, but also we plan to refinance them every maybe 7 or 10 years or something to continuously pull out more cash to give back to investors to kind of keep investing or using that to live off of or whatever, to just hold that essentially, again, we say quote unquote forever. We can't really say how long exactly it's going to be, but I'd say at least 20 or 30 years is kind of the goal. Maybe around the time it needs a lot of rehab, then we'll say, okay, now it's time to sell it to a value add buyer looking to buy it. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing that, and I like that model. It attracted me a lot, just because I saw that as like essentially for me it'd be like my retirement plan. I was like, if so we didn't talk about this either, I guess, but I did quit my corporate job at the end of 2022. So I was like, I always planned at that point prior to that anyway that I was going to fund my retirement with real estate. I already had that figured out, but I was like, aside from just the cash flows and things coming from doing deals, I was like, this is a great opportunity as well for myself, even just to build up a tremendous amount of wealth in the next 20, 30 years without having to continuously do new deals and things, because it's going to just be there, growing and expanding. And so, I like that a lot. And of course, I can pass it on to my children as well. And so we bring in investors that kind of that same kind of thought, where they don't want to just be always looking for new deals. So they want to have something in that they can just let sit and kind of like the set it and forget it kind of infomercial things, and let it just grow their wealth over time and not worry about it, So I like that a lot for that reason too.
That's good. Now tell me what cities they're in.
Well, so I can't give too much information on the new one, because it's, at least for now, it's going to be a 506B.
Okay.
But we do have something coming up here, but definitely the one we have is actually right now in where I live in Idaho Falls, Idaho. So we got a big project right here in Idaho Falls, Idaho. We've already got it essentially funded for the at least our phase one part anyway. So it's not currently open for investors, but yeah, it's a great deal that came about a few years ago, and we got through. It's a long process. Of course, it's been great for me to learn as well, because I'm not a developer, but working close hands with developers that are going through stuff, I get to learn all the steps and things that are involved. And what's really great about this, and I think something we plan to try to do with any future build to rent as well, is find cities that are willing to work with us to provide opportunities for tax incentives or tax rebates. Like the one we have here, it's going to give us a huge tax rebate, which basically reimburses all the infrastructure costs, like for the roads, new utilities, that kind of stuff. So what that means is, for the investors, that means more cash flow, more income, because we're not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on taxes. We're saving that, and goes back to the cash flow. So that's a great opportunity there. That's kind of like the plan going forward for all of our future deals as well. We're also working on a similar thing with the city. Yeah. So
what's your buy box?
For those, of course, we want to find land that, first of all, we can get at a discount. We typically are not buying on market, we'll say, land, unless, for whatever reason, it's just a great location. Maybe it might be worth it, but so far, at least the ones we've been in, the one here in Idaho is actually the city actually called up my partner, the developer, to see if he wanted to take it, because they had a different. It's kind of funny. They had a different out-of-state buyer who's actually pretty well known. I don't want to mention names here, but he actually called the one to buy the land, but then the city called up my partner and was like, "Hey, this guy that we don't know out of state wants to buy this land, but if you'd like it, we'd prefer to keep it here local." So he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So we got a great deal on that land, and of course, which is why they're, I think, even more willing to work with us to get these tax rebates and other things that they've pushed through and pushed the whole thing through the council with no objections ever.
Yeah.
And then but then we started looking, where else is up and coming things happening, where's road growth happening, and that led us to Texas, and we located an opportunity for some land that was also kind of one of those opportunities. So it's just this land sitting there in the middle of the city that's just never been developed for whatever reason, and the city's looking for some kind of great opportunity, and we kind of showed them the plan we were doing here in Idaho, which I'll mention too. These aren't like just pure buildings and concrete, right? We have a lot of open green space, walking trails, splash pads, all this kind of stuff that makes it a great, fun community, and of course beautifies the city, right? Makes it attractive to have people come there. And so we showed the city here, similar to what we're doing here in Idaho, and they were like, we love this, we want this in our city too. So they were also along those lines willing to work with us to make things happen and make sure that takes place. And so we're about a year out from breaking ground there, but we're definitely in that process right now to get that approval from the city for the tax rebates. And honestly, initially it wasn't even something that we we even brought up. But after we got the one here in Idaho, we mentioned it to them if they would be willing to work with us to provide some tax incentives, mainly because we're trying to conform with what they're requesting or asking us to do, versus what we just had planned to do from the start. So we had to make a lot of modifications to make it still work and make the numbers still work. And then so we're like, hey, well, this is a lot of work and cost for us. If you really want to make this happen, are you willing to work with us and provide some tax incentives? And so like, yeah, we're willing to discuss that, So definitely opens the doors. We're like, okay, we need to make that part of our plan. No matter what going forward, we need to have these tax incentives because it just, even if it's a good deal to start with, it makes it even better. And sometimes, it what could make or break a deal. There's other developers I know that I've spoken with that say they can't make anything work in certain states or cities unless there's some kind of a tax incentive to do so. So, but yeah, for us, it's like, yeah, especially right now. So we're like, yeah, we're going to make that as part of our, almost like our criteria. We have to have that, just because, whether it actually needs to or not, it just makes a deal better. So why not, if they're willing to give it. So.
Right. Yeah. And then it really builds a relationship. Me being a government girl, I can talk a little more to this.
Yeah.
Because the officials on the governmental side really like that working relationship. And if they are able to talk freely and you're able to exchange more and brainstorm more, it makes for a better relationship and a longer relationship anyway. But they need to, and they do realize they need to be willing to give something. Most of them realize that. But and you're crazy not to do that, because that is indeed what that the whole movement is towards, to get more affordable housing and whatnot, and that helps make it possible. So, but
plus it never hurts to ask anyway, right? I mean, you never know. It's like, might as well ask for it and see if they will do it.
So your build to rent, these are houses or apartments? I thought you said apartments earlier.
Apartments. Yep, they're apartments.
So apartments are always build to rent, aren't they?
Well, typically, yes. I mean, as far as they're going to be rented out, but I mean, sometimes you'll developer could just build the apartments and then sell them to another.
Sell them. Gotcha. Right. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So, but we're going to build them and hold them, I'll say. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so are you doing A, B, C? Well, not C. Obviously, they're brand new. Are you doing are you making them luxury units, or what price point are you aiming for?
Yeah, so we're gonna make them so they're not quite luxury, like high end, but also but like high end feel without the high end cost. So we want to make them, like I said, somewhat affordable, that kind of mid range price where most people are in that rental, not low end like let's say affordable housing, but reachable housing, I guess, for most comparable rents.
In Florida, we call that attainable.
Yeah. Okay. Attainable. Yeah. Right. But have that kind of that higher end feel and look, again, providing those amenities, like I was saying, the walking trails, splash pads, the full community feel. Because a lot of the places here that at least here are other builders I've spoken with and I've heard from, is they put very little emphasis on the amenities. They just want to have the apartment and maybe parking space, and that's it. But like, they don't need backyards, they don't need amenities. It's like, well, some people do want that stuff, And so it's like, if you can have, if I were looking to a place to rent and I have property A where it's going to cost me, $1,500 a month to rent, property B costs me maybe about same $1,500, maybe even like say $1,600 a month, a little bit extra. But property B has all these different fun amenities and it's got a backyard, it's got a big place to walk around and splash pads or playgrounds for the kids, that kind of stuff. So why would I not go with that one that's got all the nicer stuff? It's approximately the same price anyway. So we're going to be, kind of competing, I guess, with some of those other, I hate to say it, like, basic builds. But because I think, a lot of people will be attracted to those things and want to pay even a little bit extra just to have those, more than just a gym or some, some apartments have like in their office, like a gym or something. We want to do more than that, more than just a gym, a swimming pool and again, the green space and dog park, all these different things that, people are really wanting. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And you touched on something that gets a little difficult sometimes, and that's those backyards, right?
Yeah.
And so are you doing 1 and 2 story pretty much, or 3 and it's still backyard just for the first story? How are you handling that?
Yeah, well, so there'll be a mixture. So there'll be some like townhomes that will have therefore their own, I guess, personal backyard. But I guess I'm referring to also more just like the open green space and like almost like a park feel to where you essentially it feels like your backyard where you can actually go out and play and do things more than just you got your parking spot and you got the road. So some things may have their own specific actual kind of backyard patio. Not I'm not talking like huge like 30-foot length yard, but still enough of like a private space to actually get out and have a kids play or something or dog do stuff, but most of it's going to be that more that just that open green space, open parks and trails, walk around the whole place, that kind of feel where it's more of like you actually have a yard, we'll say, to use, not actually a private personal yard, but this open space that you can get out and go outdoors and do things.
That was my next question. Are you fencing it or not? Because we were fencing in one of our projects, and then you have the question about maintenance of that grass at the back there, right? Yeah. So but you're not fencing it. You're keeping it open.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except with the exception of some of those townhomes, like I was saying, that we have some townhome units that will have their own individual, again, higher price for higher amenities and things. But yeah.
Great. All right. Well, so we're coming up on the end of the period here. So anything else you want to cover before I ask you the big question?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think we covered quite a bit today, but yeah,
it's been fun.
So yeah, unless something else comes up, I think we're good to go to the big questions.
And we'll have the contact information in the notes. But so is there a pivotal person or event that's brought you either to where you are today or that's pushing you forward to a certain goal or something right now?
Yeah. So to be honest, there's been a few, I'd have to say. It'd be hard to put it on just one. But going back to like my first job I got when I was 14 years old working at Dairy Queen. I went through a few different owners in that time, and people were buying and selling that place for some reason. But each of them were entrepreneurs, and so I learned a lot from each of them. In particular about thinking about money and investing. Like one of them was big into like Amway and things like that at the time. But these got me thinking more about money. And definitely kind of pushing more to take an interest in well, one day maybe I want to buy a Dairy Queen one day, and so I started thinking about that the kind of more entrepreneurial thoughts because of them. I think they helped a lot. And then another man who was unfortunately no longer living, Patrick Clark. He was the founder and owner of the company I worked for almost 20 years in the financial industry. He was like so my father passed away very young. At least he was 55. I was like 20, I don't know, 25 or something at the time. So he passed away very young for me. But so this other man, Patrick, came into my life around that same time, and kind of for me, it felt like he kind of took on that fatherly kind of role. Sorry, I definitely I loved him a lot, and he helped me with lots of things. He obviously gave me the job at the company I worked for. I came to him with lots of questions and contacts, and of course he knew a lot about finance and investing and all kinds of different things. And I to this day I wish he was still around. I probably could do a lot more having him to lean on for questions and things. But he was a big source as well for pushing me to go back to school and to get my degrees and to do the things I enjoyed doing. And then another one I'd have to say is someone who is still living, luckily, a good friend of mine, who essentially helped me to get into syndications and commercial real estate and to get out of my shell somewhat, to get active on LinkedIn and other social media. Because I was literally not, you could not find me anywhere before this. I did not want to be found, right? But then I realized, at some point, it's like if I want to get out there and do these big things, and people need to be able to see me and find me and trust me. So she helped me get out there to do those things and I guess can help get me pull into like some of these like online virtual meetups and started networking with people, and so yeah, she's been a big help as well. And I feel bad because I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. I can totally see her face, but
was that her business, or that just was part of the relationship where it went? Does she
No, well,
do
she does syndications as well. Yeah, she was actually somewhat new starting syndications at that time when we first met, but she helped get me into my first syndication deal as well, and learned a lot from her as well. So, yeah,
if you think of
Emma
it later, let me know.
Emma Powell. Sorry,
Emma
I
Powell?
felt yeah, I feel bad if she's going to see this and like say, "Well, you can't remember my name," but yeah. It's one of those days for me. Just lot of stuff going on, so I can't think of things. But yeah, no,
Yeah, you had
she's a good
emergency
friend.
right before we came on, so yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So she's a good friend, and I often still come to her a lot of times with questions. She knows a lot of stuff about the landlord laws in Idahoans too. So she's been a big help in lots of things.
Awesome, awesome. Well, very good. All right. And did you want to nominate one of them as a pivotal person, or both of them, or
Um, well, I mean, shoot. Um, sure. I guess we'll have to nominate Emma.
Emma? Okay,
Yep.
nominated. All right. And then we'll figure out. You can tell me if you want to call her and tell her, or you want me to call her and tell her.
Okay.
But we'll
I can.
talk offline on that. Yeah. Well,
Sure.
very good. Well, so super. So tell people how they can reach you, and we will put it in the show notes as well. But go ahead
Sure.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely. You could, as I mentioned, LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. I'm active there. You can easily contact me, connect with me, and send me a message. But also here on if you can see the screen behind me, go to our website beyondercamp.com. You can see all of our existing properties that we have there that you can make a reservation and go hang out at. With that, kind of our sister site is beyonderholdings.com is our investment site to kind of look at any potential new or future investments that come up for RV campgrounds. But yeah, that's probably the best ways to find me on those two places. Or if you can also see the screen, you can also email me at don@beyondercamp.com.
Terrific. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really had fun with this.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure for sure. Been enjoyable.